welcome to our online event around what makes Cafcass unique. We'll just give our colleagues some time to join. You're very welcome, and we really appreciate the time you've taken out this evening. I'm sure it's been a long day, whatever you've been doing, but you're very welcome to hear a little bit more about what makes Cafcass unique. So please settle in. We will make sure that you hear lots of different voices and not just one voice, but we'll tell you a little bit about us. Welcome. I can still see we've got people arriving, so I will give it just one more minute. We're really looking forward to sharing with you today some real opportunities about what makes Cafcass unique, what children tell us about that in their feedback, but also I'm really looking forward to introducing you to some incredible colleagues to tell you a little bit about their stories and their experiences in Cafcass. I'll get going as mindful we're 2 minutes past 5. So as I said, welcome. We're so grateful you've taken the time out today to listen to a little bit more about what makes Cafcass unique. I'll introduce myself to start with. My name's Gemma Gerrish. I am the Deputy Director for Operations and Improvement here at Cafcass. And I'll be kind of emceeing, hosting today and handing over at times to my incredible colleagues who'll share a little bit more about why they work for Cafcass and their experiences in doing so. But just to start with a little bit about me, I'm quite a new member of Cafcass. I still feel like the new girl. There's always lots to learn, but I've had an incredible welcome since I joined in September of last year. I've got the absolute privilege to lead half the country in terms of operations and improvement alongside my colleague Rahana. And I've been absolutely blown away by the welcome I've had and the absolute focus that this organisation has on really delivering that exceptional experiences for children. I also get the privilege to be the public law lead. So my background is almost entirely working within a local authority. I do claim that I have been part of Cafcass in my journey. I was a student in my final social work placement for Cafcass and loved that experience. And I'm so excited to be back part of this organisation. So our focus is really about delivering that exceptional experience for every child, everywhere, every time. And that for me was what really drew me to Cafcass, seeing an organisation that had that value around making a difference for children throughout. And I think that really played out from the minute I joined. I was so lucky that my first week was practice week in September of 2024. And just seeing every corner of this organisation having that dedication and focus to really making a difference for children, wherever you worked in the country and whatever your role. It was absolutely inspiring. And I'm surrounded by really incredible people who are dedicated and committed to making a difference to children. We know that social work isn't an easy career anywhere in any organisation, but having that focus and that wraparound support, we hope, makes us as Cafcass unique as the largest employer of social workers in the country. But I will be sharing and asking my wonderful colleagues, Anna, Deborah, Danielle, Imogen, Harpal and John to share a little bit more as we go through, to tell us what life's like for them working for Cafcass. But first and most importantly, I wanted to just share you a little bit about what the voice of children and their feedback is to us and the difference we make, because that's the only way we'll know if their experience is exceptional, directly through their voice. So I'm just going to flick these up on the screen, or the lovely Ian is going to help with that. And whilst I won't read them, please take the time just to see the difference that our social work staff and the whole organisation make directly to children, making huge differences in their lives, giving them opportunities to feel heard, understand their outcome and what will make a difference. This one stood out to me. You make me feel like I have a home. And also just the impact that the amazing practice developments that we've seen in terms of introductory letters. This one refers to seeing that picture at the start of the work and how that really started that relationship early and meant a child felt they were able to engage, that children feel that they're listened to. And whilst we don't always get it right, It's how we learn from when we don't get it right, that we make a difference moving forward. So from there, from that incredible feedback from children, from a little bit about my story and what brought me to Cafcass and my earlier experiences, I'm going to hand over first to the fabulous Deborah, who's one of our family court advisors and is also a health and wellbeing champion, and is going to tell you a little bit from her perspective over the next couple of minutes about what it's like working for Cafcass. Deborah, over to you.
Thank you very much. It's nice that everyone's been able to join us this evening, and I hope you're well. Just really wanted to just firstly tell you a little bit about myself. So my name's Debbie. I've been with Cafcass since about 2018. That really followed various roles within sort of local authority settings and some agency posts. I'm currently a family court advisor in the early intervention team, which I call EIT, it's EIT for short, based in the Portsmouth office, which deals with the initial screening and analysis of risks in private law applications, where we complete safeguarding letters that assist the court in making safe decisions for a child. As part of this role, I also attend court about once a week, where I offer support and advice around safeguarding. I've formed some really good working relationships with the judges and lay justices at court. So attending court really gives me an opportunity to also link in with colleagues as well, because my role predominantly is working from home. I can obviously go into the office if I wish. Whilst working for Cafcass, I have become involved in the various sort of network groups, and that's what I really love about Cafcass, because there's so much opportunity. So I'm part of the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Network as an EDI champion for my area, sort of feeding back from the regional group to my team, providing information and awareness really on sort of matters locally and nationally and also internationally. I'm also linked in with the Cafcass Health and Wellbeing team, and last year I had a great opportunity to go along to the Community Care Live event with our amazing health and wellbeing manager, who is super knowledgeable. I learned so much around sort of managing the health work and work balance as well. This is so important. We're all familiar with the work pressures of managing complex work and social work in whatever area can be really stressful. So for me, Cafcass has many attractions for me. I've got a diagnosed thyroid condition. So for me, it's really important to get that right work-life balance. I feel my health and wellbeing supported by the networks. We have information sharing, really useful and important opportunities for us to engage with us to help manage our health and wellbeing, from sort of global events to local events such as World Mental Health Day, Time to Change. There's sort of bespoke health promotions and campaigns developed and promoted when a specific health need has been identified, sort of considering sort of healthy remote working. Cafcass offers 4 wellbeing days as well over the financial year. These provide an opportunity to engage in some self-care activities. So our next one is scheduled for February. The theme is prioritising self-care amidst work and life pressures. So there's workshops planned for both practical and information-based sessions. So really, self-care isn't selfish, and I think certainly sort of in our profession, we sort of very good at looking after everyone else but not ourselves. So it's an essential tool to cope with work and life pressures outside of our control, to maintain well-being and effective work-life balance. So in terms of the health and wellbeing team, there's so much information that we can access and is shared upon with us. Some sort of key topics that we look at, sort of menopause, men's health, loss, bereavement, financial matters, cancer, one-to-one sessions. So there's also the employee assistance service, and we can access sort of their telephone counselling. Personally, I like to use the BHFS. It's like a cash-based health benefit. I do a lot of sport, so for me, I can access sort of physio sessions, sort of dental appointments, and eyesight as well. And I've also accessed sort of private consultation appointments, and that's also extended to my children as well. And it's been really, really helpful. So yeah, I just really want to just finish off my little section just to kind of reflect on my current team. I find the structure and support of my team extremely accessible and helpful. So managing those immediate worries and case-related queries, as a team, we have arranged sort of weekly Teams drop-in sessions to discuss cases, but also really key for me is an opportunity to meet up and share ideas and just catch up with one another. So just sort of, that was kind of my perspective and why I enjoy working at Cafcass. Thank you.
Deborah, that was incredible. Thank you so much. Just as it gets handed back over to me as a spotlight. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Deborah, for sharing so much. I mean, I don't even know what to pick out. You shared so much great stuff, but I'd really highlight that health and wellbeing offer that you've shared and all those networks in terms of being able to be involved, both in terms of practice, but also in terms of as an organisation, how we care for each other and care for ourselves. Hugely powerful and a huge benefit of those health and wellbeing days and that health support plan as well, which is part of our offer. So thank you so much, Deborah. Really appreciate your time. I now have the privilege to hand over to Danielle, who's one of our service managers, who's also a health and wellbeing lead and a Together champion. Danielle, do you want to tell us a little bit more?
Hi, good evening all. Thank you for taking the time to come to this evening's recruitment event. I am a service manager in Greater Manchester. I started my Cafcass journey as a family court advisor, and I made a really strange decision. So I was working as a team manager in the local authority and decided to take a £6,000 pay cut to come and work as a family court advisor at Cafcass. And the reason that I made that decision was because the offer that Cafcass has. So although it was a bit of a sidestep in terms of my career becoming a family court advisor and stepping away from what was, I suppose, a leadership role, I wanted that opportunity to deepen my practice knowledge around court work, something I was hugely passionate about for children and families. And Cafcass was the place to do that. And in just 2 short years, I was able to have 12 months of family court advisor, really build upon some of the skills that I already had. And there was some really great opportunities for progression. So we've got things like an emerging talent programme. So whether you are at the start of your Cafcass career and you are coming as newly qualified social worker, we've got that assisted and supported year in employment. But if, like me, you are a bit further along in your social work career and you're wondering, you know, what could be next, we've got emerging talent opportunities, there are coaching opportunities, there's a great level of training that you can access really to kind of develop your craft. So whatever stage you might choose to come to Cafcass, we've kind of got the tools to develop you. I'm somebody that wanted to be a social worker for all of my life. So really dorky confession, when I was 14, I wrote to my local authority and asked them how to be a social worker. I still have that letter. And they replied back through my school about some of the things that I might want to do. So I knew my career trajectory. If you're not somebody like me that perhaps knew that early on in their life, that was your passion, we don't expect that either. You might have muddled through different things in your life that kind of brought you here. But if you are passionate about working with children, if you are passionate about social work, Cafcass definitely can keep that going for you. So one of the ways in which we do that is through Together, which is our relationship-based practice framework. And that's really in everything that we do. So we are building respectful relationships with the children and families that we work with. We are building them with our colleagues, wherever they are in the organisation. And it's just a nice place to be. I think, you know, it's fair to recognise that social work is challenging. So whilst there are really supportive and respectful relationships, we're doing really difficult work. You know, we are supporting children who have experienced family breakdowns and separations in private law, where the grown-ups around them can't agree on the arrangements. And that absolutely has an impact on children. And obviously we're supporting children through our public law work, often where they've experienced some really significant harm throughout their lives. And I think, as my colleague Deborah alluded to, not only is there a great offer in terms of health and wellbeing, but there's really great supervision opportunities as well. So we have pod groups, which are a group of your peers who you can meet with at least every month to kind of talk about some of the practice dilemmas that come up. You get supervision with your manager. And yeah, it's just a really great place, really. So in the team that I manage, I've got people that have been at Cafcass for probably since before Cafcass was Cafcass. So 23 years, I think, is my longest serving staff member. And some of the practice wisdom that she brings, I'm not the expert in the room. So when we have pod groups, some of the things that she talks about really help some of our people that are earlier on in their career. So yeah, wherever you are, I guess, in your social work journey, I think we've got something to offer.
Thank you, Danielle. Hugely beneficial. Again, you covered so much content. Thank you so much. But it was really great to hear about how your own journey has been with Cafcass, joining as a practitioner, but also how you've had that opportunity to develop and now a service manager. I think it's been really exciting seeing some of those career progression and pathways grow and develop so that you can make your own path with an organisation that focuses on children. But thank you so much, Danielle. I'm going to hand over now to the fabulous Imogen, who's one of our senior service managers. Imogen, thank you for your time, and over to you.
Thanks, Gemma. Hi, everyone. I'm Imogen Nicholson, and I'm a senior service manager in West Yorkshire. I manage the Work to First Hearing team, which is the type of team that Debbie talked about not so long ago. And we're the team that manage and work with families during the initial stages of private law proceedings. And I've worked for Cafcass for nearly 12 years now, and it's been a really happy 12 years. And I think some of the things that keep me here and make me not want to leave Cafcass are definitely the people, the culture that we have, and the outcomes that we achieve for children. And there's just a really lovely culture in Cafcass. It's a culture of support. It's a culture of continuous learning. And I do personally feel really supported by all of my colleagues, all of my managers, and by senior leaders in Cafcass. And we're a really happy group of people. And I think that's what you'd find when you come and join us. And although I work primarily in West Yorkshire, I've worked really closely with the teams in South Yorkshire, in Nottingham, in Derby, in Greater Manchester, in Merseyside, Cheshire, and you see that same supportive culture across all of the areas, and you see that same continuous focus on achieving good outcomes, well, exceptional outcomes for children. And we do have high expectations for children because children deserve nothing less than that. And so we do work hard. We do really try and strive to keep improving the quality of our practice for children. But that's one of the things that I really love about being here, because we do keep getting better for children, but we also keep getting better in terms of the way that we support people who work for Cafcass. I could say so much more in terms of all the positive things about working for Cafcass, but there wouldn't be enough time. But it is still social work. We work really hard, and we're making some really significant and sometimes life-changing decisions for children, but there is that support there for us to do it. There's a relentless focus from senior leaders to think about how we can keep improving for children, but there's that same relentless focus about how we can keep improving the support that we offer to our colleagues. And that's something I really love about being here, and it's something I feel really lucky and really privileged to experience, and that's something that you would experience if you come and join us. I hope this has been helpful, and I'm happy to answer any questions later on that there might be in the chat. Thanks, Gemma.
Oh, we've got you on mute, unfortunately, Gemma.
See, it happened again, Ian. We all make mistakes. You'd think I would be better at coming off mute. It's because my cat's meowing in the background, but you don't all need to know that. So thank you, Imogen, for sharing some of your experiences and recognising the work is challenging as we try and get things right for children, but the importance of striving and being ambitious for children whilst supporting each other is absolutely our aspiration. Thank you. I'm going to move on to the fabulous Harpal, who's one of our family court advisors. Harpal, can I welcome you in to give some of your reflections?
Hi everyone, I'm Harpal. I'm a family court advisor based in the Birmingham and Solihull team. I've been at Cafcass, I think coming up to, quick maths, 4 years, around 4 years now. I think I've been at Cafcass, and I started off as a local authority social worker for the disabilities team, and I think one of the funny things when I first joined Cafcass is when I was practicing social work. I don't know the makeup of everyone who's on this link, but it used to be you thought as a Cafcass as the guardian as your retirement thing, like that's something you do when you're a bit older or a bit experienced. You don't come and become a guardian at that point. But then I had a look at the advertisement, and I looked at the thing that always grabbed me about Cafcass was the voice of the child. That's something, as we're all social workers here, we're all passionate about being the voice of the child. And I think the thing with Cafcass, there's no purer role around that. You are literally the voice of the child in those court proceedings. You are nothing to the local authority. You are nothing to the parents. We're respectful and we're together, but you are there to make sure that child's voice is heard loud and clear. And I think once you start working at Cafcass, you start to recognise that everyone wants to know what you say because you are that voice and you're able to advocate on behalf. And the judges and all the professionals want to know what you think because it's so important. I've So Danielle, I think, mentioned about the pathways plan. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience here. So one thing about Kafka that I've really noticed is since working here is the openness to have difficult conversations. We're all professionals, and I come from a minority ethnic background. And when you work in organisations, you tend to see you might pick up on like sometimes diversity changes as you look through the structures of different corporations and local authorities. And in Cafcass, they're really open about trying to understand that and have open conversations around diversity and what it means for individual workers. And I'm on the Brilliant Leaders pathway, which is focused on people with minority ethnic backgrounds to work on your leadership skills. And I found it so enlightening. And Cafcass have created a space for us to have really honest, frank conversations amongst ourselves in safe spaces, but also with senior leadership to kind of be able to express our views on how we feel about career trajectories and how our voices can be heard. And I think it's really evident since we've been working at Cafcass that at every level they want to represent the diverse, not only a diverse families that work with, but we're a diverse set of workforce as well. And our voices are really trying to be promoted. And I can say for my own benefit that I'm starting to be able to progress and experience that. And then you feel valued as a worker. Everyone's talked about the benefits, and those are all really helpful as well. But it's the space to have really open and frank conversations with management, not to feel what you're saying is, you're trying to stir up the hornet's nest, so to speak, but you're just trying to express your views and how you feel. I think the best example was we had the riots not long ago where the people from my community were being targeted, and I had senior management coming up to me in the office saying, "How are you feeling? What are you thinking?" And we had some really honest conversations about how I felt in that moment, like I work in Birmingham, a very diverse area, and thinking about, well, this is how I feel about working, this is how I feel about my family, and we're having those open conversations. You just feel better to get stuff off your chest. And I haven't experienced that before in other working environments, and I think that's something that's really important about working at Cafcass. I think it's important to know that you will be heard, you will be valued, and you will be able to say and get things off your chest that maybe you might not feel you're able to wherever you're working now or whatever your experiences are currently. So yeah, I'm happy to talk on that a bit further if anyone has any questions around that.
Pal, hugely valuable. Thank you so much for your openness and honesty to share your experiences, but also that focus then on that privilege of being able to represent the child's voice. Just two huge themes, which I really value your input on. Thank you. Next, I'm going to hand over to the fabulous Anna, who's another one of our family court advisors. Anna, over to you.
Hi there. My name's Anna, and I'm a family court advisor within the private law down in the US. And I've been with Cafcass for over a year now, having been in the local authority 8 or so years, and then various roles in the sector before that. And in terms of day to day, the tasks and things that I'm doing, it's very much around completing Section 7 report to advise the court safe contact arrangement. So meeting with parents, meeting with children, meeting with wider professionals and other family members. And I guess what I wanted to raise that I thought would be helpful was some of the reflections I had from when I first started and the bits that really stood out as a difference from when I was working with the local authority, and then also perhaps to think a bit about dispelling some of the myths within private law. So I do think until you've perhaps done it for a while, it can come with a lot of preconceptions. The first things in terms of when I first joined Cafcass, is that there's very clear structure, there's clear process and policy, lots of evidence-based tools, easy to use, and familiar from within previous roles. But as much as there is all of that available, there is very much autonomy and independence to use what's available to best meet the needs of the child and the family that you're working with. And the other thing that I found really beneficial is that Cafcass doesn't feel like a hierarchical organisation. I think one of my other colleagues was talking about, it's a feedback organisation, that senior leaders do care what everyone within the organisation is experiencing, and they will listen to that. And the processes that are in place to capture children and families' feedback, and you receiving them and hearing them, and that informing your practice, is also really valued as well. There's such a lot of support in various different shapes and sizes, so however it is that you find it beneficial to access help, it's there. So whether that's through supervision with your manager that is done at the point that it's needed, it's situational. It might be based on when you're thinking about recommendations, or it might be based on a safeguarding concern. It's specific to that child. So I always feel that when I walk out of supervision, I'm not walking out when previously you would have gone through a whole list of 25, 30 children. You leave sort of feeling a bit exhausted and overwhelmed. You're actually walking out with a very clear idea of having reflected what's going on and clear actions to do that. And as well as the kind of manager supervision, the group supervision is really valuable, because that's where you can learn from your colleagues. There are a huge number of practitioners that have got decades worth of experience that are still on the ground doing the practice. So the experience comes from all, and learning and support comes from all different angles. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about dispelling some of the myths of private practice, and just to recognise that there is such a huge amount of complexity within it. Yes, there are some relatively straightforward, if that's what you want to call it, ways to, roles to think about arrangements for children. But when you're appointed as a guardian in particular, the complexity that can come with navigating really challenging situations and working closely alongside solicitors and experts appointed, it's really interesting and challenging. And the bit that I think within Cafcass is really I'm especially within private law, is around domestic abuse. So I'm a domestic abuse champion. It's very much one of the passions within my practice. And we know for a long time, in terms of how domestic abuse has been understood within the family court system, has been at odds with how it might have been understood in, say, other elements of domestic abuse practice. And Cafcass are very much trying to learn and trying to do it better, and it isn't always easy, and there is still changes and there are still reflections, but that where things are changing, and that's through feedback from children, from parents, from the judiciary, from experts, and so it's quite an exciting time to look at how those changes are happening and moving forwards. So yeah, I think that kind of brings the key bits that I wanted to talk through, and yeah, happy to take any questions.
Well, thank you so much, Anna. And then the last fabulous colleague I'm going to hand over to, and last but not least, is the lovely John. He is one of our service managers and also features in a little video that we'll be sharing with you later as his cartoon self. John, can I hand over to you at this point?
Thanks, Gemma. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming. My name's John, and I'm a service manager working in private law, work after first hearing team, and I'm based down in Devon and Cornwall, so I cover the entire region. It's a lovely part of the country to live and work, particularly in the summer. It is fabulous. And I wanted to just spend a few minutes talking to you a little bit about career progression and what that looks like in Cafcass. And that really ties in with a question that I've seen being asked in the Q&A a short time ago, is what makes Cafcass unique as an employer? There are many, many things that make Cafcass unique. If you had asked me 4 years ago, I probably would have had real difficulty answering that question as a local authority burnt out social worker looking for where life was going to take me next. And I found my way into Cafcass, having worked in local authority and child protection, a variety of different roles, long-term, short-term, etc. over a period of about 8 years. And I came to Cafcass with that experience behind me thinking, okay, it's probably going to be slightly different to what I'm used to, but I kind of know the basics and I'll be okay. And my goodness me, what a transformative environment it was that I walked into, because Cafcass is a completely different world in a really good way. And what immediately struck me about the organisation is that no matter how big it is, and it is massive, there's a really local, personalised feel from the top down. And everybody kind of knows everybody else. And if you don't know the other people, you kind of know who they are and what they're about. And the organisation is massive, but also quite local and very personalised as well. And the impact of that means that good practice is recognised from the bottom up and from the top down. And that's amazing. And quite often that recognition is second to none, you know, on a scale that I've never experienced before. And what that does is it really recognises the strengths in line with our Together values. And it's recognised, and each practitioner and their value and what they bring to a role is really recognised from the left to the right, from the top to the bottom, down, across ways. Absolutely phenomenal. And that's what really makes Cafcass a unique employer. You are recognised, you are valued, and your strengths are built on, and you are elevated dependent on where you want to be and what you want to do across the organisation. And as an organisation as wide and as varied as Cafcass is, there are many different career progression opportunities. I myself never set out to be a service manager. I make no bones about it. I was always first and foremost a practitioner. I love working with families. I love working with children, and that was my real strength. And actually that strength drove me to a place of wanting to be a part of the change, the journey of change, to instill that passion into other people and to my colleagues, and to better what we already do really, really well, but to take it to that next level. And that's what drove me to be a service manager. You don't have to go down a management line. You know, there is a default kind of perception that the only way to progress in social work is perhaps to go down the management route. That's absolutely not the case in Cafcass. And as a family court advisor, I can tell you that I've had experience of so many amazing opportunities. For instance, as you've already heard Gemma say, you know, I've been involved in an animation video. A couple of years ago, I was nominated for a national award. I went to a national award ceremony, and that was an amazing experience that I would have never got in a local authority environment. Aside from that, I've also been involved in lots of national projects such as Community Care Live, and other promotional and marketing things that have taken place throughout the organisation. I've been a part of national projects that have taken place where we look at improving the different things that we do well, but taking it again to that next level. There are many opportunities. You are not simply confined to one particular trajectory of you know, management progression. And there is a very clear progression pathway within Cafcass, dependent on where you want to be and what you want to do. And the first step of that is our Emerging Talent Programme, which recognises outstanding individuals who have got an awful lot to contribute to the service delivery and improvement. And that really is a strengths-based, skills focused approach to moulding you and developing your key skills and your strengths, and moving you forward in the organisation in terms of where you want to be. That can open so many doors for individuals, not just down the management line, but you can go into project management, you can go into service delivery, you can go into our National Improvement Service, and everybody, no matter what your position is in Cafcass, plays a very critical and pivotal role in improving the service that we give to children and families. You don't have to be a manager to do that. I did it as a family court advisor. I'm doing it as a manager, but there are many individuals on this call who work for Cafcass who do a wide variety of different roles. And so the possibilities really are endless in a national organisation that recognises you for your strengths and what you can bring to the organisation in your own individual right. I could go on forever talking about Cafcass. I love working for Cafcass. It has been an enormous journey that I've been on in the last 3 years, and I'm really looking forward to spending more years here. In my current role as a service manager, I work with Anna, who you've just heard from. I'm actually Anna's line manager, but we were colleagues up until October time. We were both family court advisors in a very busy private law setting. And you are treated and perceived very differently working for Cafcass by the judiciary, by other professionals. There is a real noticeable change and a difference in the way that you are perceived. The courts are looking to you to give that expert view in what is appropriate and safe for children. And that can have a profound impact on decisions made by the Court for Children. And as I said, everybody, no matter what your role and what your position is in Cafcass, plays a massive role in those decisions being made, and how we then learn from things that don't always go to plan, and about how we do things differently moving forward. That's what I love about the organisation. That's what I do, and I hope that you can take some of that passion away tonight, and really consider what Cafcass can offer you.
Thank you, John. As always, you've covered off some really positive aspects of what brought you to Cafcass, which always strikes me as a real open and honest journey for you, but also those opportunities to grow and develop, but also around celebrating and sharing great practice. Absolutely key. And one of the things I remember vividly about Practice Week was just listening in on some of those serious success reviews and learning around what has gone really well for children, for families, and for practitioners as well. So thank you so much. So I'm just going to come to the bit which reflects on a couple of your questions, and starting off a little bit with roots into Cafcass. So ultimately, for a social work role, you would need to be a qualified social worker. We're looking for those with the passion and real focus on that valuing the child's voice and valuing making sure that we do our very best for them. No social work is easy. We know that, but actually the opportunity to make a difference here at Cafcass is huge. And I hope you've heard today about the support that you get from your colleagues, from those around you, and from the organisation as a whole. Recognising that there is a benefit of having experience of working with children. Court experience itself, I don't think, isn't a fundamental requirement, but a willingness to learn and grow and develop with those alongside you is absolutely key. And that critical value base is absolutely essential around making a difference to children. To cover off one of the questions, we do have non-social work roles. As I said at the beginning, we're as an organisation across the board that focuses on children, but there are other aspects in terms of our corporate and business services, and I'd encourage you to read and find out more. And for those of you who are shortly going to be qualifying as social workers, we will be recruiting for our next Social Work Academy cohort in March of this year. So keep your eyes open and your eyes peeled for those opportunities. And as I move on to the next slide, I'll just show you a little bit, and there's some opportunities for you to see some events coming up where you can learn a little bit more. So we will be, and we're excited to recognise that we do grow staff right from that beginning of being a student through. So please look at those opportunities, different roles, and you've heard from a variety of different roles today. And it's really something we're growing and learning from, those opportunities to grow and develop great people. Moving on to the next slide, sorry Priya. We will be at the Compass in-person event in Birmingham on the 17th of March. We'd welcome you to come visit our stand. You may see some familiar faces from today, and we're going to be leading 2 seminars, one focusing on relentlessly restorative relationships, talking a little bit about how we are working together with children and families, thinking a bit more about our approach to practice, our together model, as Danielle touched on earlier, and also talking about engaging children in decision making. As we talked about earlier, just having that opportunity to be the child's voice. And I think, Harpal, you touched on this, around the privilege that is, and being able to advocate for that child's voice being the loudest that we hear. And as I touched on before, our Cafcass Social Work Academy will be recruiting soon. There will be an online event. The date of that is to be confirmed. But using that QR code, you can register so that you're notified of that event. And you'll hear from some of the fabulous NQSWs, the Social Work Academy themselves, and the managers talking about their experiences and their opportunities within that. I think there's been a couple of Q&A around other relevant experiences. I think some experience of working with children is going to be absolutely key. It's around how we grow and develop and support you to build on that if you are successful in joining us, but we'd really welcome those applications. Moving on to the next slide. This is again a QR code. Please follow us. We're there on LinkedIn and YouTube. There's opportunities to get more content and see more. There's lots in the chat in terms of different things that are published, but also different approaches we take. And that QR code will tell you a little bit more. And then just wanted to say a huge thanks. We've run over, but I hope you've seen how passionate we are about what we do and the difference we can make for children. Firstly, a huge thank you to you all for taking the time out on a Tuesday evening. Whatever you've been doing in the day, I really value the time you've committed to hearing a little bit more about what makes us unique as an employer. But a huge thank you to my incredible colleagues, Deborah, Danielle, Imogen, Harpal, Anna and John, who've really shared a little bit about what life is like for them in Cafcass, hearing a little bit about the different opportunities you can have and a difference about how each one of them is making a difference every single day to children. So a huge thank you to them, a huge thank you to you, and we hope to hear from you soon. We are going to leave if you've got a few minutes. I think we'll play it if that's okay, Priya. This is our new video where you will see the cartoon version of John, and you can access this after the link, but a little bit more about the work we do. Have a great week.